I've always hated pickups in the middle of nowhere. Cities have noise, people, streetlights. Out there in the dark, on the edges of town, the world feels like it belongs to something else. Something you can't see until it wants you to. That night, I was running late on a shift and decided to take one more trip before heading home. The ping came through just after 1:30 a.m. pickup location. A trailhead on the far side of the county. I almost declined. Who the hell calls an Uber from the woods at that hour? But it was a long ride with a good payout. I told myself it was just a hiker, maybe someone camping. Money's money. The road out there was pitch black. My high beams carved tunnels through the trees, and every turn looked the same. Endless trunks, branches clawing overhead, shadows moving when the wind shifted. My GPS chirped. Arrived. But when I slowed to a stop, there was nothing. No houses, no cars, just a gravel lot swallowed by trees. I sent the arrival message, sat there with the engine idling, then movement. A figure emerged from the trail. A man, tall, thin, wearing a gray hoodie with the hood pulled tight. He moved strangely, not stumbling, not rushing, just gliding. Like each step was too slow for the distance he was covering. He opened the rear door without a word and slid in. The air felt instantly heavier, colder. His destination appeared on my screen. An address across town, near the old rail yard. About 40 minutes. I tried a little small talk. Nothing. Just silence. He didn't look at his phone, didn't fidget, didn't even clear his throat. He just sat with his head slightly tilted, like he was listening to something far away. Halfway through the drive, I checked the mirror. That's when I noticed he wasn't looking out the window. He was staring at me. Not blinking. Not moving. Just two dark eyes fixed on the back of my head. I gripped the wheel tighter, told myself to focus on the road. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe he was high. But then he spoke, his voice flat and quiet. "You should have said no." I swallowed. "What?" "You should not have come here." My skin went cold. I wanted to ask what he meant, but my throat locked up. The GPS told me to turn onto an unpaved service road. I slowed, hesitant. The place looked abandoned, rusted fencing, silence. Then the back door clicked open. He stepped out slowly, his face still hidden by the hood. He stood there for a moment in my taillights, then turned and walked into the dark brush. I waited until he vanished. My hands were trembling as I ended the ride. I just needed to get back to the main road, back to somewhere with lights, people, noise. But before I could shift into drive, my phone buzzed. Another ping. A new ride request, from the exact same trailhead where I'd picked him up. The name on the request? The same as the one I had just dropped off. Same profile picture. Same passenger. I threw the car into gear and got out of there as fast as I could. When I checked my trip history the next morning, that ride wasn't listed. No record of him. No fare. Nothing. But the ping from the trailhead was still sitting in my app, waiting for a driver to accept it. And sometimes when I drive past that part of the county, the app buzzes. Always the same pickup point. Always the same name. I've never accepted it again. If you ever find yourself alone in the back of a car late at night, remember, not every ride ends where it's supposed to. Some passengers never leave. So before your next trip takes a turn where you can't come back from, comment and share this so you're not the only one who knows. And subscribe before midnight, because you never know who might be waiting in the back seat. I've had my fair share of weird riders, drunk couples making out, people throwing up in the back seat, even a guy who tried to bring a live chicken. But nothing has ever burned itself into my memory, like the night of the masked passenger. It was just past midnight on a rainy Thursday. The city streets were slick and empty, reflections of neon signs bleeding into puddles. I was about ready to call it a night when a ride request popped up from the edge of downtown. Quick trip, decent fare. I figured it would be an easy closer. When I pulled up, I saw him standing there under a flickering street lamp. Tall, broad-shouldered, motionless. He was wearing a dark coat that hung to his knees, and on his face, a mask. Not the cheap surgical kind. Not even one of those trendy Halloween types. This was a full-face mask, skin-colored but too smooth, with features molded just slightly off. The eyes were wide, the lips parted in a strange, almost smile. It looked human, but it wasn't. He didn't speak when he got in. Just opened the rear door and sat down, the rain dripping from his coat onto my seats. The app showed no destination. Just on trip. Where to? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. He tilted his head slightly like he was thinking. Then he spoke, low and muffled behind the mask. Just drive. I felt my stomach knot. That's not how this works. I told him I needed an address, but he only repeated himself. Just drive. Something in his tone, flat, absolute, made me obey. My hands turned the wheel, even as my brain screamed not to. We drove through empty blocks. No music, no radio, just the sound of rain hammering the roof. I could feel his eyes on me, through the rearview mirror, unblinking, locked to my face. Every time I glanced back, that mask stared at me, too perfect and too wrong all at once. I tried small talk to break the tension. No response, just breathing. Slow, steady, deliberate. At one red light, I risked a longer look in the mirror, and that's when I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The mask's lips were moving. Not much, just barely, but enough that I realized what I was looking at wasn't a mask at all. I slammed the accelerator when the light turned green, heart thundering. My mind raced. Was it makeup? Prosthetics? Or something else? Finally, after what felt like an hour, he spoke again. Here. We'd stopped outside an abandoned strip mall. Windows broken, weeds growing through cracks in the asphalt. He reached for the door, and I felt a wave of relief, until he leaned forward, close enough that I could smell something damp and rotten beneath the scent of rain. "You look better with skin," he whispered. Then he was gone. Out into the rain, vanishing into the shadows of the dead storefronts. I didn't wait. I floored it, tearing down the road until the strip mall was nothing but a memory in my rearview mirror. The next morning, I checked the app. No ride logged, no record of the passenger. But later that week, as I drove past a crowded bus stop, I saw him again. Same coat, same too perfect face, standing perfectly still among the living, staring straight at me as I passed. And I swear, the mask smiled wider. I've had my fair share of strange nights as a driver, but this one made me question if I picked up someone who was even alive. It was a quiet Wednesday, just past 1 a.m. when I got the ping. The pickup was in front of a 24-hour laundromat. When I arrived, I saw a woman standing under the flickering neon light. She was wearing a long, outdated-looking coat, the kind you'd see in old black and white photos. She didn't wave, didn't check her phone, just stared at my car until I pulled up. She opened the door, sat in the back seat, and gave me an address. Her voice was barely a whisper, but something about it felt heavy, like each word was a struggle to push out. I noticed she didn't have a phone in her hand. No purse, either. Just her coat. The destination was across town. An old neighborhood I knew wasn't exactly safe, but the roads were dead empty. I tried to make small talk. Late night laundry? She didn't respond. She just stared straight ahead. I caught her reflection in the mirror, and her eyes, they didn't seem focused, like she was looking through me. Halfway through the drive, I felt the temperature drop inside the car. My AC was off. I even checked the vents. Nothing. But my breath fogged slightly as I exhaled. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. Then, out of nowhere, she spoke. Clearer this time. "He's waiting." That was it. No context, nothing else. Just those 2 words. My stomach sank. I didn't even want to ask what she meant. Finally, we pulled onto the street she requested. It was lined with old, boarded-up houses. Most of the streetlights were dead. I slowed down, trying to find the number she gave. But when I turned to tell her we had arrived, the back seat was empty. The door hadn't opened, the locks hadn't clicked. She was simply gone. I slammed the brakes and whipped my head around. Nothing. The seatbelt was still buckled, swaying slightly, like someone had just been there seconds ago. That's when I looked at the rearview mirror again. The condensation from my breath had fogged part of the windshield. But on the glass, right above her seat, there was a handprint, perfectly clear. Small, delicate fingers pressed into the glass. I floored it out of there and didn't take another ride for 2 weeks. To this day, I'll never forget how cold it felt inside that car, and the way her voice still echoes in my head. He's waiting. I've driven hundreds of late-night rides, and most were forgettable. Drunk college kids, someone heading home from a bar, a lonely soul looking for a ride in the dead of night. But this one made me quit driving for good. It started around 2 a.m., a little after the bars closed. My app pinged for a pickup at a rundown strip mall on the edge of town. I figured it would be a quick, easy ride. When I arrived, there was a man standing under the flickering streetlight. He looked average at first. Jeans, hoodie, backpack slung lazily over one shoulder. But there was something off about him. He didn't glance at his phone, didn't check his surroundings. He just waited, staring at me until I pulled up. He slid into the back seat without a word and gave me an address across town. Not a long ride, maybe 15 minutes, but his silence made it feel heavier than the longest trips I'd ever driven. I tried to break it. "Long night?" I asked. Nothing. Traffic should be clear at this hour. Still nothing. The closer we got to his destination, the more I noticed it. He wasn't just silent. He wasn't breathing normally. It was shallow, almost imperceptible, but I could feel the rhythm of it in the seat through my clothes, like a quiet tapping I couldn't ignore. My stomach started twisting. Finally, I pulled up to a dimly lit apartment complex. I turned around to let him out. He didn't move. "We're here," I said, my voice a little sharper. Still nothing. I reached over to open the door. "That's when it happened," he whispered. One word. Just one, barely audible. "Wait." I froze. His head was tilted slightly, eyes locked on the rearview mirror. But he didn't move toward the door. I tried again. "Sir, you need to get out." His whisper came again, a little louder this time. "Wait." I felt my skin crawl. Something about the way he said it made the air in the car feel thick, suffocating. I leaned back, heart racing. Then he moved, not toward the door, but closer to me. Slowly, deliberately. "Wait for what?" I asked, though my voice cracked. He smiled then. Not a friendly smile, not a joking smile. A smile that felt like it belonged in a nightmare. He didn't answer. He just leaned back, eyes fixed on me, and said the word again. "Wait!" Panic rising, I reached for the door lock, tried to tell him again, but he didn't flinch. And then I noticed something even worse. His reflection in the window didn't match him. His face was pale, almost translucent, like the light from the street lamp passed right through it. And his eyes, they weren't human. They were black, deep pits that seemed to pull the light in rather than reflect it. I slammed the car into drive, flooring it out of there. He didn't protest. He didn't yell. He didn't even move from the seat. But every turn I took, every street I veered down, I could feel him watching me. Felt him moving with me. Just a whisper behind my shoulder, chilling my spine. By the time I made it back to the highway, I glanced in the rearview mirror again. The seat was empty. No man, no backpack, no trace of him at all. Only the faint outline of a handprint slowly disappearing on the window. I didn't stop driving immediately. I went back to a well-lit diner nearby to calm down. But as I sat there, trying to convince myself I was imagining things, my app pinged again. A new ride request. The pickup was at the same strip mall. I deleted the app and never turned it back on. That night didn't just scare me, it stayed with me. Sometimes, late at night, when the streetlights flicker, I swear I hear the word. Just one word echoing in the wind, soft and deliberate. Wait. And I know in some part of my mind that if I ever drove again, I might just pick him up